I want to talk to you today about my favorite carnivore myth, my favorite myth about the carnivore diet. And that is that going to absolutely zero carbohydrates is dangerous because you need some sugar for your body to work. Your brain runs on sugar, and you have to have sugar, otherwise you'll die. It's silly. It's dumb. And it betrays a very basic lack of understanding about human biology. Very basic misunderstanding. Because here's the thing, we know that your body doesn't need exogenous sugar to function. Keyword there is exogenous. You do not need glucose or fructose or sucrose or any other dextrose or any of the other stuff, any form of carbohydrate, not a single gram to function, to have perfect health. You don't need it. We know this because your body can actually produce its own glucose for those functions of the body that require glucose to operate. What you need is adequate protein. You can even do it with fat. And that process is called gluconeogenesis. I'll tell you what gluconeogenesis is in a moment if you don't know. But there's actually peer-reviewed studies now. These are like meta-analyses of many, many different studies. And yes, meta-analyses have their own problems because they just they use different data sets and different methodologies. But when you're looking at a cross section of studies to see what their results are, and you start noticing a common pattern among their results, there can be some usefulness in that. And so I'm going to really talk to you about this. And this is a study called The Effect of Carbohydrate Intake on Strength and Resistance Training Performance, a systematic review. It's published in 2022 in the Journal of Nutrition. Again, this is a systematic review of several studies, and here's their conclusion. 39 out of 49 studies, including all 16 isocaloric comparisons, in addition to 4 published abstracts, found no significant benefits of higher carbohydrate intake on strength training performance. 10 out of 15 studies also found no effects on muscle growth. The other 5 were confounded by higher energy intakes in the higher carbohydrate groups. Let's emphasize that. There's literally not a single high-quality study that shows benefits of higher versus lower carbohydrate intakes on strength training performance. Now, this study was focused on your performance in the gym, basically. Strength training. This is any kind of weightlifting, whether it's basic, classic, just let's, be able to bench press a little more weight, on a regular basis than you were able to before, all the way up to powerlifting. Carbohydrates, according to the studies, 80% of the studies suggest that there is no need for carbohydrates, no net benefit from carbohydrates in the gym when it comes to strength training. Now, I know you will see people say that, if they consume a little bit of fruit or a little bit of candy or some honey or something before they go into the gym, they get a performance boost. Okay, fine, but you don't need it. And I'm going to give you an anecdotal example, and that's from my own life. I made the best strength gains of my entire weightlifting life, and I've been weightlifting for 15, 16 years now, by getting fat adapted. While trying to actually lose weight, I was making crazy strength gains in the gym, because of fat adaptation. And I was also making good cardio gains when I was doing cardio. I don't do cardio on a regular basis. I'm not exactly a big fan of cardio, but I wasn't hitting the wall or getting sluggish. It was more of a gradual come down in energy because I was fat adapted. Fat adaptation is a wonderful thing. It's like the best hack for fitness you will ever have. But the science simply does not back up the claim that you need carbohydrates. For your basic biofunctions, your body will use something called gluconeogenesis for this. This is not radical stuff. I mean, this is Keto 101. This is like the most basic question people have about ketogenic diets. And those basic questions apply to carnivore diets, which is, what about the fact that your brain needs sugar to operate? If you want to go to any chemistry, any biochem textbook, they're going to give you a definition like this one about what gluconeogenesis is. Gluconeogenesis is the metabolic process by which organisms produce sugars, namely glucose, hence the name gluconeogenesis, for catabolic reactions from non-carbohydrate precursors. Glucose is the only energy source used by the brain, with the exception of ketone bodies during times of fasting, etc., etc. And a few other organs of the body use them. And your body can produce it from non-carbohydrate sources, typically protein. Just need adequate protein. How much is adequate? You're going to want to go to consult one of our nutrition experts in the keto space on that. But if you're getting enough protein, you'll be fine. This is not a problem. You don't need to consume carbohydrates for your brain to function. It's my favorite myth on the carnivore diet, that you need carbohydrates. So go ahead and eat 10 pounds of fruit or something so your brain will function. Anybody telling you that they're using brain function or even gym performance as an excuse is probably not on your side. Or they just don't know what they're talking about. You don't need it. How many of you watching this work out in some way or another, whether it's in the gym or you go for runs or long bike rides or long hikes or skiing or surfing or whatever, and you do it zero carb or near zero carb? The only carbs you consume are the naturally occurring trace carbs that are in eggs and or organ meats. How many of you fit that bill and have athletic performance that's just unreal compared to how you were in your old life? Curious, let me know in the comments, because it's real world testimonies that really debunk a lot of this stuff. I know from personal experience that I gain wonderful strength gains when I'm avoiding carbohydrates. Anytime I've slipped up and allowed myself to indulge in carbs, my performance at the gym tanks. I don't get a boost from it. It's like an anchor around my ankles, anchor hanging from a chain off my leg, trying to swim. Just torpedoes my athletic performance. It's literally the opposite effect of what people say happens if you consume even a small amount of carbs before going into the gym. My experience has been carbs harm me in the gym. They don't help. I'm curious what your experience is, so give me your testimony in brief in the comments about this. And also, what are your favorite myths about the carnivore diet that people use to try to keep people away? Is it the saturated fat lie? Is it the meat rots in your gut lie? What's your favorite myth? Let me know in the comments, please. And like and subscribe if you haven't. It does help. And share this on social media if you can. That helps a lot too. I'm Anthony Stine, the Practical Carnivore. Thanks for tuning in.